Right, folks, what's happening? What is happening? How are we getting on? How are we getting on? So, this is going to be a different type of YouTube video, and I thought it would be informative for you guys to watch sets that people will not see, or most likely will not see. And this video is going to be based upon the way I structure my upper day. Now, the reason that upper half for me has predominantly, for the past X amount of years, has been a main focus for me has been just because my legs have always been a strong suit. So the main goal for me was to bring up my upper half, so I just needed to train it more often. So basically, the way my split looks at the minute, just to kind of give you the rundown, is push pull off, arms, upper, legs off. So 5 days a week, one leg day in there, and I'm not well. I'm doing stiff legs on my pull day, but other than that, there, I'm not really training legs any other time of the week. Now when I look at the physique now as I'm pulling down, I'm like, right, it's actually went the other way in terms of my upper halves actually came up a nice bit, but I feel like my legs, not they definitely have downsized, but it could just be a matter of fact of just I'm pulling down and they just look flat. But it looks like now, obviously, the further we get into this, it'll give me a good understanding. But as of right now, anyway, it looks like right leg is going to be a big focus for me moving forward into the new year after this prep. But that's besides the point. With this video here, I want to go through my upper day, the way I lay it out, and why I lay it out the way I do. Um, and then just go through basically on screen, why I'm doing movements certain ways, etc., etc. So, as you can see here, the way I set my upper day up, the first exercise is going to be an incline press, and it's the exact same in the push day. The first exercise in a push day is actually an incline dumbbell press. With this is an incline machine press. The reason I set up incline first is because predominantly for myself and for 95% of people, upper chest is going to be one of them parts of the chest where, it's not really a strong suit for, as I says, 95% of people. So with regards to that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk you through me going through this set now. So we'll just go through it. Obviously, set myself up for the set. Now, the biggest thing here, it might actually look like I'm pausing the screen here, but in actual fact, I'm just getting myself ready for the set. Like I'm not moving here. I'm focused on what I'm going to be doing. And I actually spoke to a client about this recently with regards to like preset execution, and it's a huge part of whether your sets are actually going to be productive or not. Genuinely, like it's a huge part. People underestimate how important it is to actually focus on what you're going to do. And I sort of have like a checklist in my head with regards to what I do preset. It's actually thinking about the movement first and foremost. What do I need to do in this movement to make it good? So like, where's my shoulder going to be? Where's my shoulder position going to be? What am I going to do? Am I going to protract? Am I going to retract my shoulder blades? Am I going to arch my chest up? Am I going to make sure that my arse is like glued to the back of the seat? Are my feet planted? That's why I have the foot pad there, etc., etc. So you're thinking about what you're going to do. You also want to visualize what the set's going to look like as well in your head. Like, if this set went perfectly, what does that look like? Um, and then effectively focusing on wee things then like tempo. So that's like a checklist for me is what do I want to do with the set? What way would I want the set to look? And then tempos, right? So what are the tempos for this movement? And then lastly, you can think of how many reps you want to get. So all in all, that's like a checklist that I go through before most of my sets. All right, so this is a big press for me. So diving into this, this was just my preset execution here, and here we go. I'm about to dive into this set here. So I look like I'm going to lose my mind before the set, but that's just how I get myself psyched up for it. So there's two plates on this side. This is a fairly heavy machine. It's a flex leverage copy, which it's the only flex machine I've ever used. But first things first, I want you to note is setup, right? So before I'm just about to press this, feet are planted on the ground. They will not move. Now the bad thing about this actually set is that the fucking the foot pad started to move. So this wee thing here started to move on me, which has never happened before. So that was a bit of a balls. But regardless, I want you to view yourself as a tripod, pushing them feet into the ground. As you can see here, I'm arching my chest up, rib cage is up, and then creating that arch in there, as I says, and then retracting my shoulder blades. So I'll press this up out of the length and range, push it up, and away we go. So the other point that I'll want you to note here as well is that I'm keeping my wrists directly under, or my elbows directly under my wrists, as you can see there, and up. So as you can see here, the tempo on this one was a fairly slow one. So really controlling these negatives, where you're going to get most bang for your buck out of these sets. Like that's where you're going to get, as I always say to my clients, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck in terms of stimulus, in terms of muscle growth. Now, why is that? Because the eccentric part of the movement is the most energy conserving part of the movement. So it's the least energy demanding. The concentric, in terms of pushing it up here, is the most demanding in terms of energy. So you're saving yourself energy in the way down, but you're also gaining more hypertrophy from that part of the rep as well. So we know from studies and research that a lot of the growth or a lot of the tissue damage or stress or not stress, I suppose, or not damage either, but tension on the muscle will come from that lowering part or portion of the rep into the length and range. All right, so that's where you really want to maximize the control there because number one, you're going to get the most stimulus from there, but also you're going to be conserving energy within them reps as well. So just keep an eye on the elbow path there. The elbow path doesn't really change or shouldn't change. That was a grinder, that, as you can see. So I did want to give that one up, as you can see. So yeah, with regards to that set there, could have been a wee bit better. I seen myself lifting myself out of the chair, which is what I don't want to do. But to get that last rep up, I did need to use fucking everything. All right, so you can take that as a positive. You could also take it as a negative. Look, with regards, I always say this to clients as well. With regards to them last reps, right? They're never going to be perfect. They're never going to be perfect. But you want to get them as close to perfect as possible. And if the only thing that's going wrong in this whole set is that arse lifting off the pad a tiny bit, then I'm not going to worry. If I was completely off here, then I'd be right. Let's reset this. But it was only a wee bit of a niggle there, as you can see. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this set. In terms of the intensity that I brought to the set, and then controlling the eccentric, and that's where a lot of people go wrong in terms of that eccentric because I knew I wasn't going to get no rep there, but a lot of people will just drop the weight there. There's a whole half rep. There's a whole half rep there to actually gain from that movement. So overall, pretty happy. So keep the elbows under the wrists just to keep the joints stacked. Keep that arch in your back. Keep the chest up, pin the shoulders back, scap retracted, and keep them feet planted. All right. So that is the first movement of the upper day. So I did two sets there. So moving on to the next one, if this is the correct one. Just making sure this is probably should have done these in order to be fair, but knowing me, I never do things easy. Yeah. So just gonna mute this. So with regards to this, this is the flat chest press panada. So to be honest, I've said this before in my stories and stuff. This is the best chest press I've ever used in terms of how it converges together at the top. The stack is light but heavy at the same time. Like this is one of the only presses I've ever used with regards to the tension just stays completely on the muscle no matter what part of the rep that you're actually in. Usually in a chest press I find there's certain bits where it feels unreal and certain bits where it drops off. This is just pure tension on that muscle. So even though the stack is light, it feels heavy because there's just constant, you cannot escape the tension. And if you're escaping the tension, you're the one doing that, not the machine. So the other thing I like too is you're getting a very good range of motion here because as you can see, they have the foot pad or the foot pedal here, pedal. Um, the I don't even know what you call that, but it's like a wee step to bring this up. You'll see me do it here in a wee sec. But with regards to that, it's a very good movement because as it says, it keeps the tension on the muscle. You get a very good range of motion. And yeah, I just love it because you can converge really well. Now, I've used the plate loaded version of this as well, but didn't like it half as much as this version here. So again, preset execution going in. I do the foot pat like it's you build wee routines around these exercises, like with regards to the foot here. I'll always use the left foot. I've caught myself using the right foot sometimes, and it's like a wee thing where like if I use the right foot on this, the set never goes well. So it's just one of them ones. So the left foot's being used here. To push this down to bring these forward, and then I'll dive into this set. I'll press it up first, get myself set, and then I go in. So that's the way I just set this set up. So without further ado, let's dive in. So that's the foot pad down. Get my hand position correct. Get my position on the seat correct, and we're away. So I'm going to get myself set up here initially. So again, the same premise when a press happens. You want to keep the wrists directly above the elbows here, which is exactly what I'm doing. And what I'm really thinking about here is the pressure on my hands. So my feet are stable. I'm trying to just find a comfortable foot position in this. But the big thing here I've found with this press is that for me, it's all about where I put the pressure on my hand, right? Sounds a weird one, but it does make a difference. So what I found with doing this press is that if I press from this part of my hand, I get a bigger contraction because I'm almost like trying to drive that hand down like that, which for me just leaves a better contraction. Someone else could be different, but it's wee things like that there that do make a difference in terms of when you're actually trying to build up a connection on a movement, for example. Because it's not like I've been running this for 3 years now. I've been running this for a couple of months, maybe or 2 or 3 months. So I'm still not perfect with it, but obviously the more I do it, more skill I gauge, the better I get at the actual movement. So nice low control eccentrics here as well. As you can see here, I'm struggling now in this one as the strength starts to drop as I pull down in terms of body weight in this prep. But overall, very, very happy with the eccentrics here. And contraction is there. So you can see that's a grinder as well. And really just rinsing that eccentric down because I knew I wasn't going to get the next rep, like, but I want to make sure that I am rinsing that eccentric. And if I don't get that, I'm getting a few length and partials here because there is certain movements where I'd say not to do length and partials, but with this movement, I feel safe enough to do so. So I feel safe to actually do length and partials on this movement. So that's why I do. That's a big part of length and partials. If you feel safe to do so, do it. But if you don't, don't. Because they can cause injury if you're doing them wrong or you're doing them on the wrong movement. But overall, pretty happy. Feet stay planted as much as possible. With this one, I like to have the seat up a wee bit higher. So because I'm a shorter guy, I can never have the feet like fully set. If ideally I would have two blocks or something where I could put my feet on, but I'm not going to cry over it. I can still reach the ground. Not that short. But overall, pretty happy with the stimulus that I brought to this movement. Overall, I'm pretty happy. So that was movement two. So that is 4983. Just to see 4984. Let me just see if I can actually. We'll just follow here. So hopefully this is moving on to the correct order here. So that's not the right one. I should have had these in order realistically, folks. So with regards to the next one, right, this was the first lap movement of the day. So it was this row. So with this row and with this set, I wasn't happy with it. The reason being, I don't know what it was about it, but I just wasn't completely happy with it. As you can see, I'm just getting into the set here. I'm just getting myself set up for the set. Again, just pre-locking in, getting the set execution, getting your preset execution ready and ready to go. So with this one, the biggest thing here, and I'll draw the lines on, is that well, I can't draw the lines on actually. But the biggest thing here is that you want to create an arc, right? You want to create this arc where a lot of people go wrong with this movement is that they'll pull it in an arc, so you'll direct it in an arc there, but when you let it out, it just goes straight back out. Whereas if you watch me do this, when I'm about to go into the eccentric portion of this movement, I'm actually pushing it down into the ground and away. So I'm trying to create the arc on the way out as I am on the way in. This is the biggest thing that's grown my lats because I've been training lats for a long time now, and they've always been a weak part for me. But the biggest change that I've found that's really, taken my lads to, putting on tissue is the fact that on that eccentric, I'm really driving that elbow down and away. All right, where instead of just I used to just let it out and then pull it in an arc. what I'm trying to do now is pull it in an arc and let it out in an arc, right? So the Cybex Eagle Row actually does this very, very well. I don't know if anyone's ever used it single iron because the machine itself goes in that motion. So it doesn't just come in an arc and then go back straight out again. It comes out in an arc and it comes in an arc and goes back out in an arc. Whereas on machines like this, you have to do that yourself, which is no issues. So with regards to this getting set up, getting the straps on, I like to put my hand very, very low on this handle. The reason being is because the handle otherwise gets in the way because you're trying to drag this down as low as possible. And sometimes if I had that handle, I was holding it up there where my other hand is, you would see that that handle would just get in the way of my leg, so I wouldn't be able to drag it in as low as I'd want to. So that's the only thing I would say with regards to this is if you're using this machine, try and grip the lower part of the handle because it'll allow you to get it back into this hip more. So with this one as well, to keep my foot out of the way, I don't put it on the foot pad because if I put it there, it gets in the way of the handle again. So I try and keep my foot somewhere where I can keep myself stable, number one, but also where I can keep the foot out of the way. So diving into this, so you can see here now that I'm actually trying to pull it into this pocket here, but as you just seen there now, as I was letting it back out again, I'm not just like letting it go straight out. You can see I'm physically trying to push that handle down, as you can see down, 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 and then it comes back up again, down and in, down and out, as you can see. That's been the biggest change for me in terms of growing my lats. Again, down and in, down and out. So that's been the biggest change for me with regards to growing my lats. And it makes the movement 10 times higher because on this machine years ago, I used to have maybe three, four plates on at the side. I'm doing two plates on here and I'm really struggling, like really struggling. Now, obviously, I'm dieting, but I'm really, really struggling with this. Why is that? Because I'm making the movement harder. It's not always about loading the weight on to make the movement harder. It's how you're actually performing that movement that's going to make it easy or hard, no matter how much weight you have on it. So our job as trainees or athletes, or I'm not using the word athletes, but our job as people trying to develop our physique is we need to make that movement as hard as possible and as efficient as possible. So this is how you do it. You're going to create that arc out, create that arc in. All right. So again, trying to keep a neutral spine here, trying to lean into the side as well when I'm pulling it in. But as you can see there, didn't get many reps with this at all. Did not get many reps with this at all. So that was a struggle. That was a struggle. All right, so obviously you won't see the other side really, but just going back to this as well. Obviously, when I'm setting it up, I'm using the hand just to kind of save energy for the good side, for the side that I'm about to train. But the biggest takeaway from this is drive in, create that arc, driving out, creating that arc as well. You're not just letting it straight out. That's been the biggest change for me on this movement. So this was the first lat movement. We'll move on to the next one now. So moving on to the next lat movement, and it's going to be de-handle that pull down. Simple, straightforward lat movement that I love. I fucking love. I really, really love. But again, it follows the same premise of what I've done there with the compound row there with regards to creating this arc that we're always trying to create when we're training lats. And what I've been doing with this is really, really overemphasizing it. And to be honest, it's really, really humbled me because I used to lift decent weight on this, but now honestly I lift nothing. But form has got better and my lats are improving. So it's like, well, there's a correlation there between going lighter, perfecting the form, and the movement itself to bigger lats. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not here to lift weight, I'm here to get bigger. So with regards to this movement, you can see here, I'm setting it up on a just a normal pull down, but this pull down has two points of two cables coming from it, as essentially as you can see there in the mirror. So with regards to this, I always with the lats as well. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but I always start my left side. I'm always starting my weak side. My weak side is my left side. So I always start my left side. I get myself set up. The bench is at that incline there. I don't like it too straight or don't like it too low. I like it there basically. That's just what I like preferably. Um, get myself set for the set, and away we go. So the first movement you've seen there, right? If you watch this, the first pull I do, it's not just straight back. Watch where this cable goes. It doesn't just go straight back towards my shoulder. Watch where the handle goes down. and then see that. So you're trying to create that arc down and in. That's what you're trying to create when you're training lads, no matter if it's a horizontal row or a vertical pull or row. You're always trying to create that arc. And you can see here again, this is the part where I've really emphasized here. Like I'm probably overemphasizing it, but it's trying to get that feeling, trying to connect with that lat at the fixed man there. But you can see here I'm pushing that away. I'm trying to physically push and pull that handle as far away from me as possible. Keep my spine fairly neutral, leaning into the side slightly, not too much. But what I'm trying to do is, as I'm coming upright, what I want you thinking about is your lat is a huge muscle. Um, what you want to do is you want to try and create distance from the origin point to the was it the origin to I forget the other word. It's you're trying to create distance from your shoulder joint basically to where your lat connects back here, right? So you're trying to create distance. Now, if you were just hunched over into one side training lats the whole time, yes, you'll get an unbelievable contraction because if you just do that naturally, that your lat has to contract. So you'll get a bigger squeeze. However, if you stay in that position, you're not allowing that lat to create distance between its origin point. I forget the other fucking name, the other point I'm on about. But you're trying to create that distance between the 2 points. Where if you're hunched over in it all the time, you're not going to be able to do that. So it's almost like a motion. If you ever watch Mike Van Wyck, he's big on this in terms of motions of movements. Um, yes, stability is a big thing, and you can still stay stable even though you're sort of moving with the or moving in motion with the movement. So the big thing here you see is I'm always leaning over into the contraction, but as I'm coming up, I'm trying to, allow myself to actually straighten up a bit, trying to come out of, you can see there, I'm trying to come out of that lean over. Reason being is because I want to create as much distance between here and here and allow that lat to really wrap around my rib cage. So, as you can see, the biggest thing I want you to take away from is stability, contraction, move in motion with the movement, but also create that arc. That's the biggest thing. Create that arc with the fucking movement. That is the biggest thing. And that was that. All right, folks. So that was the second back movement of the day. Now I moved on to shoulders. So just to kind of recap before I go on to this, the two movements that I've done so far is two chest, two back, which are lat based. And now I'm going to do superset of shoulders. So you can see here that I'm prioritizing my weak points. So chest has actually come up a bit. So incline chest first and foremost is a priority. Then on the lats because that's a weak part for me. My back in general is a weak part, but my lats specifically to give me that taper that I want for the class that I'm in. All right. So to be honest, in a first timers competitor, and this is just me sort of with my own thoughts and my own opinion, is that most first timers are not going to have a lot of density. Most, right? So what you want to do is you want to accentuate that shape as much as possible, and lats is a huge fucking part of that. So I would rather prioritize fucking lats right now instead of density. Whatever density's there, whatever density's there. But for me and my physique anyway, I know that my upper back, my traps are way stronger than my lats anyway. So that's not really, a concern for me right now. My lats is more of a concern, so that's why I prioritize them in this order, and that's why I do it the way I do. But moving on to shoulders, so the way I've set this up now is a superset between full reps and heavy partials. So I wasn't happy with this set now to be quite honest. But I always find with this superset and the way this is set up is that I always get a very very good pump. But now I'm not chasing the pump, but for me with shoulders, I don't never really get sore shoulders. I never nothing ever really happens. But doing this, I feel like I'm working them. I feel like I'm getting blood in there at least. So for me, it's like, well, I'm gonna do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's all part of the process too. So there's a bit of fucking leeway in this. There's a bit of branch warren being used here. Um, but that's all part of the process, isn't it? Because I know in my push days I have the incline bench assisted Y raise, which with that movement I have a lot more control over, way more control over. Where these ones on the upper day, I just go for hell for leather with these. So don't be expecting perfect form here. even though it's not bad form, it's just quick. So I'm trying to blast them here with just sheer volume. So you can see here, folks, that like you can see here now that I don't paint all my training with one brush, right? I used to do that. I used to train my chest, the way I train my back, the way I train my arms, the way I train my legs, da 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 da. But what I found was, as of recently, I train different. What I found works for me now is I train body parts differently. The reason being is because I found things that work for certain muscles than other things. So, like for me, shoulders is one of them things where I like to get a lot of blood in there, and I see good response from that in terms of growth. Because obviously that tells me that the target muscle is actually being used instead of doing a slow fucking dumbbell raise, which I don't really get much out of. Don't feel sore, don't feel like I'm growing from it. So what? Why the fuck would I keep doing it? So I train certain body parts in different ways. All right, I train certain body parts in different ways. So that's just the way I like to do it. All right, so you can see there, I've just really blasted that. Now, to be honest, I went a wee bit too heavy on that. This is where I was really flagging now within this fucking session. I was not happy with that, to be honest. And then I went heavier. So the heavy partials now moving into this one. So again, we're not looking for full reps here, just as many reps as we can. So it's AMRAP. So I was really dying here. And that's it. So that's basically the superset in a nutshell. Now that didn't look very, very good at all, to be honest, but definitely room for improvement. And that's why we do these videos, folks. Just because I'm a coach, I'm not perfect. This way I do the videos to review them myself, see what I could do better, where did I go wrong, what went well, right? Anyone who says their training is perfect is a fucking liar, right? Anyone who says their training is absolutely spot on and makes it out to be the perfect training, the perfect split, the perfect exercise, the perfect tempo is a load of bollocks, in my opinion. They're just chatting out of their arsehole. Training is a skill and it's always something that can be improved on, right? I'm not saying I'm perfect, no fucking shape or form, right? That's just my take on it. And this is what I found, is grooming my shoulders. So it's like, right, well, why not keep doing it? All right, folks. So we'll move on to the next one, the final one. So a movement I really, really like is the lying cuffed lateral raise. I really do get a lot of stimulus out of this, and it's a movement that I feel really well. So for shoulders, for me, there's not many movements that I'd be like, oh, that feels fucking unreal. But this is one of them, right? This is one of them. I really, really enjoy doing it. You really, really get to challenge the medial delt and the length and range because you're allowing them cables to almost cross your body. And you can get a really, really good contraction off it as well. And you can really control the tempos as well. The tension is constant, not like a dumbbell row or dumbbell side lateral where the tension's in the short range and then just there's nothing at the bottom. This is just tension throughout the movement. So I really, really enjoy this movement. And the reason I put it here is because what I want from this movement, I want it to challenge the length and range of that muscle. So to me, it makes sense to do the short range stuff first, get that fatigued, and then you'll still have a lot left within the length and range. So this is why I do this after a dumbbell side raise, for example. So getting this set up initially. So you can see the cable here. A lot of people go too high, too low. I like it this height here. And the one thing I do give out to myself sometimes is I like my head against against the bench. So I put my head back there, as you can see. But as you can see here, it's not coming straight out to the side. It's more like a Y raise, if anything. Um, but I get a very, very good contraction doing this way. Like you can see here, my hand is nearly coming up to my neck, face height. Like I want to get it up as high as possible. That's where I feel the best contraction of the delt itself. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then I'm trying to allow them cables to cross over as much as possible before I contract again. Same again, before you contract again. Really want to be rinsing as much out of this delt as possible within this movement. So you can see there, folks, like even though I didn't get the full rep, I still tried to go again. So that's the big thing there. It's like just because you didn't get a full rep, just stop. Go for the length and partials on these. Like you're safe, nothing's gonna happen. And you'll make the most of the set itself. Alright, folks, so hopefully that was good and informative. So you can see there the way I've set it up is two chest, two lats, and two shoulders or two or three shoulders. Now, I don't do arms on this day. The reason being is because I have an arm day before this day, and I train them on push and pull. So if I was training them on this day as well, I'd be hitting them 4 times a week, and I can't. I find that especially after an arm day, you're giving it socks for that arm day. I find that I can't recover, and there's no point in me going in to hit triceps and biceps when they're not fully recovered. To me, it just doesn't make sense. So I hit them 3 times a week. That's enough. That's enough. So with that being said, that is everything. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know if you did enjoy it. Like, share, subscribe, all that good shit. And give me feedback. Give me feedback. Let me know what you want to see next.